Field trips by far are one of my favorite things about homeschooling. If you're interested in learning about where you can find field trips, what to do on field trips, and how to make the most of your homeschooling field trips, this video is for you. Hey friends, this is Mandy. Welcome to my channel where I talk about the love of teaching, whether it's homeschooling, online teaching, or just providing tips with how to be successful at both. Today, I want to talk about field trips. What is the purpose of a field trip? You may think that's a really obvious answer. We all know field trips are to stimulate interest or motivation in a particular topic. They're there to strengthen observation skills, maybe promote social development, and most importantly, field trips are to add relevance to learning. Growing up in public school, I always thought of field trips as this really large, well-organized event that only happened once or twice a year. We usually had to travel pretty far for a field trip. Maybe it was an hour-long bus ride to the city of Philadelphia for the museums. Maybe it was an hour-long bus ride to the Cape May Zoo. But as a homeschooler, I really learned that homeschoolers can turn just about anything into a field trip because everything around us is relevant to learning. So let's start with the more obvious type of field trip, and that would be landmarks. If you live near or within driving distance of a landmark, definitely check it out with your kids. My most memorable major field trip with my son was to the Statue of Liberty when he was 6 years old. At the time, neither my husband nor I had ever been to the statue. It was our son's very first time there, and we were really happy to be able to provide that experience for him. Before field trips, I typically like to go to the library and get some books on that topic. I can read a little bit about the history with my kids. We can talk about some of the details of what we're going to see. This really prepares them for what our field trip's going to be about. You can get really creative with field trips. So using Statue of Liberty as an example, for history, we can talk about why was it built? When was it built? For science, we can talk about what happened to the color. Why did it change to green? We can talk about oxidation. For math, we can talk about how tall is it? We can talk about what does this torch symbolize? Why are there 7 spikes on the crown? What do these 7 spikes represent? If your kids are older, you can throw in vocabulary. You can talk about independence, alliance with France, democracy, justice, freedom from oppression. This can even expand into Ellis Island, and you can talk about immigration as well. The next most obvious type of field trip out there would be museums. I suggest finding the museums near you. You can just do a quick Google search, museums near me, take note of the museums nearby, and just start following them on Facebook or whatever social media you use. Oftentimes, museums will promote or post activities, events, or even exhibits at your local museums. That's how I find a lot of our exhibits that we've attended. The Terracotta Warriors was at our local museum, and it was such a cool experience to see those statues firsthand. My kids got to learn what they were made of, why they were built, how they were found. We also attended a Chinese New Year event at our local museum. It was really fun. They got to learn all about Chinese culture, what Chinese people eat during Chinese New Year, why Chinese New Year is celebrated. These opportunities are so great for you to grab and make the most of them by researching these topics prior to or after going to these field trips. Before attending a museum, definitely check with your local library. See if they hand out free passes. My library has free passes for about 15 different museums. There are rules with these passes. You have to bring them back within a certain time period. I don't know the specifics, and I'm not sure if all libraries do participate in this, but I know my local library system does, and I do believe other libraries within this state does participate in that. So it's definitely something to think about. Check with them first to see if they can offer you a free library pass to wherever you're going. And they also have some great ideas for field trips. So ask your local librarian a list of what's around, where you can go, what you can see in your local areas. Another tip is to research historic places or locations near you. Do a quick search, what's near you, follow those locations on Facebook as well. In my area, there's Red Bank Battlefield. They often do Revolutionary War reenactments. There's a tavern museum every 4th of July. They reenact the Declaration of Independence. They will recite it. It gives the kids a great understanding of what it was like in the 1700s and how they dressed, how they spoke. These are additional ways your children can learn about the history of your area or your state as well. Planetariums, aquariums, zoos, farms, these are all great ideas for field trips. Zoos and farms and aquariums, they're all great to talk about animals. You can use this opportunity to talk to your kids about what particular animals eat, different characteristics of animals. This is even a great opportunity to bring about different groups of animals such as birds, mammals, fish, and reptiles. What are the characteristics of mammals? What are the characteristics of fish? You can even bring in a Venn diagram and compare birds and mammals, and you can compare fish and reptiles. You can see that the opportunities are endless with these amazing experiences that you're able to provide for your kids. Less obvious field trips would also be the supermarket. A friend of mine, she has a homeschool group that she organized, and she got together a tour of ShopRite. A ShopRite employee toured our kids around, taught them about the different departments, and they absolutely loved this tour. If you don't have that opportunity to join a group or start a group, just take your kids yourself. Talk to them about conventional versus organic, non-GMO versus GMO. Look at the prices. Teach them about coupons. Teach them how to read a nutrition label. Take your kids to the bank. If they're older, show them how to open a savings account or checking account. If they're younger, just have them watch you fill out a deposit slip or withdrawal slip. Another idea of a field trip that's a bit outside of the box is family and friends. If you have a family member or a friend that owns a small business or just works in the field that your kids are really interested in, see if they're able to bring your kid to work and maybe explain what it is that they do on a daily basis. This really allows your kids to see how to run a small business, what it entails, and this may spark additional motivation or interest in your kids. Field trips open the door for you to explore other topics with your kids. The opportunities are endless, and that's the beauty of homeschooling. Be sure to take advantage of that and try to make the most out of every field trip if you can. I'm going to link 2 great resources. They both incorporate additional field trip ideas for you by state. So this is a great starting point for you. Also, don't forget to find your local museums, find your local historic places or locations, and follow them on Facebook. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to ensure you get some more great content on homeschooling. See you next time.